right, well, sorry for that little blip getting started, but good morning, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to Supporting Families Day. It's so wonderful to see so many faces and so many names popping up. So thank you for being here. It's not as good as being in person, looking back and reminiscing on our photos from years past, but we're here. We're together, we're here for our families, and we're also so fortunate to have Chair Denise Garlick with us again this year. I want to start with a little bit of inspiration from Amanda Gorman, which I think I'll continuously put her on all my presentations. And I just want to go over the goals for today. I want to let everybody know, what is supporting families, our history, and our accomplishments and goals. And then I have the privilege of introducing Chair Denise Garlick, a champion for our community and for people with disabilities. We are so lucky to have her leadership and her commitment. Then we're gonna go to our families, and two really special families, Sue and Sagrario, are doing what families do best. They're gonna tell their story. Then I'm going to quickly take you through our budget ask and a new initiative,
it was
our
already sad
Families and Individuals First campaign.
He sounded so clear.
And if everybody can just mute, that would be great.
A little bit, but
okay, and then I'm going to hand it over to Kathleen, and she's going to take you through setting up your virtual visits and review that material that you got sent to you already. So let me just pause for a moment, because I really want to acknowledge what families have been through, the suffering that has gone on this past year. We can't really come together and not acknowledge that. This word cloud is really more about advocacy, and it could have about hundreds of other words of things that we've gone through as families this year. But people are still suffering, and I want to acknowledge those who lost loved ones. I could do a whole nother word cloud, though, that really highlights the strength and the resilience of our community, and really the hope that I think we have all, that we're all holding on to. So thanks for being here. So in terms of supporting families, for people who don't know about them, we started 5 years ago, and we are a growing collaboration of 10 advocacy and service organizations. And we had some seriously lofty goals when we began. We decided to try to increase our family support line item by $30 million. And here we are 5 years later, and we are totaling about 20 million. So we've seen substantial increases in family support, turning 22, DESI. Our awareness campaign is strong. We have hundreds of people that have attended the Supporting Families Day over the years and told their stories, and what they've done is bring real life to our line items. We've also seen COVID flexibilities and DBS funding during COVID that was a real flexible way for people to use their funds, and a new technology line item. So with that, I do want to.
Can you please ask everyone to mute? I'm sorry, somebody's speaking over.
Yeah, I think it's our interpreter, actually. So
can you please mute everybody?
Okay, I was testing it, but I think it's not working because I wasn't the Spanish here. All right, thank you, Carlos. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna wait until you guys.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Something is working. That was great. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, so now I'm just going to take the opportunity to welcome Chair Denise Garlick. As I mentioned, she's been a leader for our community, taking the lead on our budget every year, on our workforce crisis, ensuring vital legislation is passed. She's been chair and vice chair of critical joint committees. She's a registered nurse and a proud mom. And we're really grateful for her commitment to our community and to public service. So I'm going to find her here, and I'm going to highlight her. And here you go, Denise. Hold on 1 minute. Spotlight video. You should show up here if I stop my share.
Good morning, everyone. So I want to thank Mara for that kind introduction. And she is good to say that I'm a champion of our community, but I think what's more important is that I'm a member of our community. I'm the mother of a now 39-year-old young woman who was born with microcephaly and has a global developmental delay. And when I think of the issues of families that are struggling prior to the pandemic and now during the pandemic, those are the issues for me and my family as well. So I too want to acknowledge, as Mara did, our sense of loss for anyone who has experienced sickness or death, or what I'm deeply concerned about is going to be long-term impacts. So I want to make sure that we're connected and talking to each other and understanding things, because there is no playbook. We're all trying to do this in real time, and we need each other. I wanted, like Mara did, to talk about things that have been difficult, but things that are also our strengths. And I think sometimes it's helpful when a legislator is talking to you that you know how long they're going to talk. So I've been asked to talk for 15 minutes, so I think by 10:20 I'll be done. I don't want you to think I'm going to go on forever. And I just saw Ellen Fitzpatrick's name here. Welcome, Ellen. So let me talk to you about what I was thinking about during this difficult time. So I have believed always that in crisis there is opportunity. And one of the opportunities that we have had, even though it has been brought about by the isolation and the concern and the suffering of the people that we love the most, has been bringing our population to the forefront. You know, the issues of congregate care became immense at the very beginning part of the pandemic, as people began to think about individuals living in group homes and what that meant. And it's been hard to shine that spotlight. And in fact, during the pandemic, that spotlight was shown on those needs of individuals in congregate care. And then the broader population, for which many people are involved here, of individuals living at home with their families. You know, what did that mean? What was happening? And how did we actually present that? The other thing that I thought was beneficial to our community was that there was an ability to develop new skills. And I'll just tell you my personal story, right? So my daughter Beth, you know, she doesn't read, and television is not something that she can really pay attention to. And it's hard to kind of structure her day so that she has a positive, productive day. And we're members of the Charles River Arc, and they started these Zoom programs. And I had no idea how this could ever work for us. It has been incredible for us. It engages Beth on an hourly basis from 10 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. She sees the people she knows and loves. She now independently engages with the computer and unmutes herself and mutes herself, which is more than most adults I'm dealing with in my legislative meetings can do. And I have seen a tremendous strength. And interestingly enough, I got to see more of her peer group. And I was able to understand her better in the world that she's trying to move in, versus, you know, what has been this very loving, supportive cocoon of a family, but to see her independently kind of negotiating. So I think those things have been helpful. But there is no one on this call that can minimize the hardship that our loved ones and their families and their direct care providers and their agency groups have gone through in this time. And we actually don't know yet all of the impacts. And so I want to do that a little bit in order. You know, my concern for our individuals living with family or living in congregate care, one of the things that we know is there's tremendous trauma associated with this virus, about what it means to be isolated, what it means to be alone, what the impacts on mental health are. And I think certainly we don't have good data around abuse and neglect. And we need to understand that for our individuals. For the families, I think we have to look at all of those things and also what it has meant to families and their ability to retain their jobs and take care of an individual that has, intellectual or developmental needs or autism. And what's that done, what the stress is on the families, what the families have had to sacrifice in order to give that care. For our direct service providers, the direct care providers, there are no words to talk about what has been asked of them, the responsibility they have been asked to assume when the state said, oh, we're deeply concerned about congregate care, right? They were concerned about the individuals living in congregate care. They didn't see that same concern for the workers who were going in and out of those group homes, who were doing the individual service visits. I am appalled that it took us a while. I would like to believe that everyone on this call now who knows a direct service provider it knows that they're vaccinated. That should be done. And if it's not being done to anyone who can encourage that, I think it makes a huge difference to our community. But they have struggled with working long hours, with other staff peers that haven't shown up, with their own fear and anxiety for their own health, their fear and anxiety in a group home where there was COVID, then returning home to their own homes. I want us to be so clear about this. And I have a colleague who's going to head up this COVID oversight team. And I want one of the very first things we do is, or that I do, I don't know how quickly he can do it, but that I do, is to make the case to him that we need to have an oversight hearing on what has been the impact, in our community. And then for our agencies, for me, the Charles River Center is the ARC for many other people, and we know there's a whole bunch of different names, but they have been valiant in their efforts in trying to provide services where they can, and trying to provide PPE that they had to pay for from out of their own budgets. And we don't know yet the impact of that. If you're paying money for PPE out of your own budget, and then you move into the future and you're trying to open up programs, are you going to have resources for that? So I want you to know that I'm thinking about all of these issues. And I want to, one of the things I've been asked, so I'm at 1060, one of the things that I've been asked is to help individuals and families just like mine be better advocates. And, I know you're good advocates, but you're going to have to be better advocates, I have to tell you. And I've got a little formula, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I'm going to give you the key points. Make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure you always vote. And I'll tell you why. Any legislator you're going to go to, and you're going to ask them for resources, you're going to ask them for legislation, you're going to ask them to, show up at your local center. They've got a database, and they pull up that database. And I know right away whether Maura Sullivan is registered to vote or not, and I know whether she votes or not, right? And I mean in every local, state, and national election. And if I'm talking to someone who votes, that's different for me than if I'm talking to someone who never votes, right? And we've all got a lot of reasons why we might be too busy to vote. Can't be too busy to vote on this, right? So then I would classify you as a super voter. That matters, right? The other thing I would say to you is it's good to belong to groups. I'm glad that we're all here together, but in your community, join a group. And it doesn't matter whether it's a choir or the PTC or whatever you call it, or it's a book club that we all know is really a wine club, whatever that is. Join a group in your community. So when you're speaking to your legislator, you are firmly rooted in your own community. And that's hard for many of us if our children and our loved ones aren't actually in the same community, so we don't have those natural ways, the natural affinities to meet other people and make groups. Make that your business so that when you talk to your representative, that they know that you belong to the community in which you live, right? Not just the community of families that are concerned about individuals with disabilities. And then make sure you know who your rep is, right? This isn't hard to do. Go online. Where do I vote? You should know that person, and you should make it your business to meet with them, whether virtually or in person. And this is vitally important because it's your story that matters, right? Maura and Leo and other folks at the ARC, they'll carry the intricacies of the legislation and the language and the all of those details around the budget and those monies, right? They can do that job, but nobody can do your job. And your job is to tell your story about what your loved one needs, what you've gone through during the COVID pandemic, what you're concerned about for the future. You need to be able to tell that story. And then I always say, if you can tell that story, try telling another story too. Try and see if you can tell what the rep cares about. And I'll give you a big secret right now. We've just done all the new committees. Look up your rep, see what new committees they're on, and drop them a note and say, congratulations, I see you, on this committee. And it doesn't matter whether it's something that's of interest to you or not. It's of interest to the rep, let me tell you, and make that kind of connection. And finally, because I believe in connection so much, I want to talk to you about two of my colleagues. One of them is Mike Finn, who is the newly appointed chair of Children's Families and Individuals with Disabilities. I'm hoping there's people from West Springfield on here. Reach out to Mike Finn right away. He's a good friend of mine, and with an incredibly, he's got a good family. He's really thoughtful. He's going to be a good chairman. And I think it's really very, very important that we have Mike Finn. We have to reset the clock and reframe our issues and use new language so that people can hear us. That's what Mike Finn can do for us. And that's incredibly important. And the other person is Josh Cutler. And Josh Cutler, so for the folks from Duxbury here, reach out to Josh Cutler. He's the new chair of Labor and Workforce. He actually was on Children, Families, and Individuals with Disabilities and did a major initiative around employment for people with disabilities. And he is going to continue. He did a commission, and he's going to continue to carry that work. And I will be in touch with both of them. And I'm currently, my new position is I'm the chair of Bills on Third Reading. And it's this committee that is not as visible to, it's not common talk. There is no bill that goes to the floor that doesn't come through Bills on Third Reading. And that means I have to not only do that kind of work, because a lot of bills come to the floor, but I am in touch with every single representative, every single one of them. And it's going to be easy for me to say, God, I really care about this issue that you're concerned about, the sick leave bank or issue around your municipality and that kind of thing. And gee, while you're here, can I tell you this story? We have to build an army for ourselves. And we're willing to be part of that, but we need more folks with us in the legislature. And I'm hoping that that will be one of the things that I can do. So I don't know what to say, except truly, I love you all. And I know we're separate, but we're always connected just because of the people that we love and care about and our understanding that it takes every single one of us to make life a little bit better for these folks. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair Garlick. Such incredibly important advice. And we're just so grateful for your time again this year. I'm going to unspotlight you, cancel spotlight, and then I am going to turn it over to Carrie so she can introduce just what you were talking about, our family speakers who are gonna do what they do best, tell their stories.
Yes, thank you so much, Representative Garlick, and good morning, everybody. I'm so sorry that we had so many problems with the Spanish interpretation. I know Carlos has been chatting in Spanish and hopefully keeping you somewhat informed in terms of, the speakers and that sort of thing. So it is my pleasure to introduce Sue Crosby. And Sue is a mom from Western Massachusetts. And during this pandemic, she's had the added privilege and also the added stress of having two of her children turn 22 during COVID. So Sue's going to share her story a little bit, some of the obstacles, but what were some of the outcomes in the end? So thank you, Sue. Hopefully, Maura, you can highlight Sue, and you can take it from there. Just when you want me to go back and do your slides, just say next. Okay?
Okay. Great. So I hope you can all hear me okay.
Yep.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm glad you could all be here as well. Just one quick little disclaimer. It is really windy where I live out here in Western Mass right now, and I've had a couple little flashes that says my internet is unstable. So I'm hoping I can stick with you. So I'm gonna keep on talking and hopefully we don't lose any connection. And the second piece is we might get a little visit from one or both of my boys. Usually when they hear me talking and they know there's no one else in the house, they wonder what's going on. So they come in to check and see who's on the screen, who I'm talking to, who's there, is it someone they know, and they give a wave. So you may end up seeing them in the next few minutes or so. So like Carrie said, my boys are actually the reason that I'm here right now. Just to give you a little bit of background, my sons are 22 now. They are not twins. I get that question very often. They're actually two of my triplets. I have a daughter as well. The difference is both of my sons are on the spectrum. My daughter is not. She's actually a student at Westfield State University and doing really well. And she's a fantastic sister. And I'm fortunate beyond words to have not only her, but my boys as well. So to give you a little bit of background on my sons, I have two sons, Killian and Brett. And boy, even though they were born at the same time, they could not be any more, they're very different from each other. Killian is very, while he does have some, some intellectual challenges, very, very vocal and talkative and loves people, loves to be out in the community, very inquisitive, loves to ask questions, loves to learn, likes to help people, active, plays baseball and hockey and rock climbs and is a Boston sports fanatic. His room is a Boston sports shrine. It's pretty crazy. And then my son, Brett, really not much like that at all. He's his own person. He's nonverbal and utilizes an iPad, which he can use for communication and expressing his needs, his, anything that he, needs. He has that device, and that is really his voice. And he, like I said, very unique in his own way. Does not like crowds necessarily. He likes his small group of people. Loves to be in the kitchen, loves to cook, loves to bake, loves art, a practical joker, just this really, personality that just, even though he doesn't have a voice to create his own words, he has a laugh that will just, and a smile that will just, it will melt you and can get you to do things that you never thought you would do. But they're the reason I'm here, and they're just fantastic kids. They're my gift. And the last few years, they're like I said, they're 22 now. So the last few years have been really, really busy with the whole transition process. And when you start planning for transition, which really starts when they're teenagers, you know, there's all kinds of meetings and trainings, and we read so much information, and we network, and we communicate with our family support staff, and we slowly build on creating this plan that will really, in the end, when they leave school, will not only help them to navigate the adult world, but will also be representative of who they are, their personality and their likes and their dislikes. And it will help them to access and utilize the supports that they need. And we were really on the way to that. It was really going quite well. Back in March, we were really gearing up for transition. We had like 4 months, about 4 months left of public school services. My boys had planned to visit day programs. They had done some visitation, but we were kind of intensifying it so that they could visit them more regularly and help them to, with help from their school staff, help them kind of decide which environment was best for them, at least to start out with. And they were also, at this point, back in March, they each had their own volunteer jobs, which their school district had helped them find. Killian was working at one of the local ski resorts in the lodge, and Brett was working at a local nursing home because Brett loves to do laundry. I don't know why, but he loves the whole process of start to finish and cleaning and folding, and takes pride in all of that. And so they both found jobs that they really loved. And not only did they have those jobs, both of their supervisors from each of those volunteer jobs had expressed interest in hiring them after they finished up with their school, with the public schools, which felt great because we thought, okay, this is great. So we can have this great combination of some day program services and some community integration where they're working out in the community. This is good. We have a plan. And even though, you know, it will probably most likely tweak and change with time, you know, we have a really nice foundation here. And it was feeling really good. And that was back in early March. And then came COVID. And then came COVID in mid-March. And everything that was laid out and felt really good. It felt like we had put this puzzle together and it was looking solid. Well, things changed. Of course, the schools and programs were closed down. So that meant for my boys, services that they were receiving, speech therapy, pragmatics groups, vocational skill building, among other services, no longer available, at least not in person. We were homebound. Our home, like many families, kind of became a homeschool and a skill building center, which most parents have had to operate under the best of their abilities. I'm definitely not a special education teacher. I'm not a speech pathologist or a behaviorist. I'm actually a social worker by training, but certainly wasn't prepared to take on these additional roles. So it was not something that was certainly not expected. And then on top of that, with the schools closing, their volunteer jobs were discontinued, and the talks of them being hired are currently off the table, and we don't know if those opportunities will come back when COVID eases up, or when we get to a stage where they would be able to engage in their jobs out in the community. So it felt like this really huge loss all at one time. There was a loss of routine, a loss of connection with people that knew them and knew how to work with them and knew how to help them when days were difficult, or when, how to motivate them to learn something new. Those connections were suddenly gone as well, which is really tough for kids on the spectrum. And I think most people know who who have had exposure to autism know that structure and routine and predictability can be so, so important. While we try to teach flexibility, sometimes those routines are what is a sense of safety and comfort. And those things were suddenly gone. And everything just kind of fell upon the home front. And I think that was true for many parents. So we had a transition plan that at one point was really strong and felt good. And now it kind of felt like it was in pieces. And that, like I said, not something we expected. And really stressful and hard to shift gears and try to manage so many things and recreate so many things that were in place. So transition basically had to be redone. We needed a do-over. Not what we had planned, but we knew that it wasn't the end of the world. We would start again. We had to create a plan B, which is a concept somehow that both Killian and Brett, my sons, in their own ways could comprehend, either through a social story that we created for my son Brett, or through talking to Killian about, this plan isn't going to work. So now we're going to, since, Killian is very, loves to know how things work. And when things don't work, he needs to know why they didn't work. So with Brett, it was creating a social story and writing about what was happening and how we were going to move forward and what would be happening from home. And with Killian, it was talking about this whole process one by one. So there was a lot involved with that transition planning, and there still is. We're trying to utilize as many supports as we can. For my boys, it was about warming up to the virtual world. They never really, most of the technology they used didn't involve virtual meetings and online classes and Zoom and all of these things. And that took some time to warm them up to that. That's something, again, very new. Change can be difficult. And so he has really done well adjusting to that. Brett's taking a little more time. And of course, I think people who are nonverbal sometimes can have a little more of a challenge. The challenge might be is a different degree of challenge to access some technology, especially video conferencing and platforms like Zoom, where you are trying to talk live with folks, and to try to link that up with his iPad that has his voice output is a challenge, and that's something we're still working on. And then other supports for them, we've tried to really, when we can, take advantage of socially distant activities that are out in the community, just so that we weren't home all the time. They could see what's going on in the world around them still. We've done a lot of exploring of the different towns in our area, so they could see, just the different, just so many different places that they don't get to see in the course of the day when they were at school. We even took advantage of a rock climbing program that they had been attending, but they found a way to make it socially distant, and really the risk was very low to participate in that. So that really kind of was a nice chance for them to be out and see people, even if it was from quite a distance. When you're up on a rope up high on a rock formation, you're not exactly talking right next to them, but you're amongst a community in your own way. And that was really important. For myself as a parent, transition meant really going back to those supports that I had, and that I would have to reutilize all over again, tools and guides, including online workshops that helped me organize my thoughts and perspectives, and so I could spend a little bit more time each day reworking this plan and involving my boys with it too. We've spent a lot of time on that. We've had a lot of papers hung, flip chart size papers on our wall, talking about what we would like to see happen, what we want to get back, what might be different that we want to do. we're kind of rebuilding and recreating a transition plan, and that's still in process. So yes, and it is definitely a do-over. And then there's also the networking, and I've been really grateful to have a great support network between my family support staff out here in Western Mass, parent groups that I belong to, my coworkers and my colleagues through the work I do at MCS and Mass Families, who are fantastic listeners and fantastic human beings, and who often live the life just like I do, who help me keep that sense of forward motion, so we don't spin our wheels too much. Transition planning and this do-over also involved looking at compensatory services. For a while, we were really waiting for DESE to come out with the guidelines of how to move forward with services that were lost. And while we knew we weren't going to be able to pick up exactly where we left off, it would be wonderful if we could go back and do 4 more months and just, kind of jump back in where we were in March. That wasn't going to happen, but we did, spend a lot of time negotiating with our schools about what was needed and what was lost in terms of regression, because that does happen. And it did happen to my boys, because when you lose that structure and you lose the routines and the contact with people, it's kind of inevitable. So we worked on what turned out to be a 6-week in-school services program. And then there was an additional, I think, it was close to 10 weeks of community integration at a local food pantry that was able to create a socially distant volunteer opportunity. So slowly we're creating new plans and creating new experiences to see, to continue to see areas of growth and see what kind of things are, both Killian and Brett are interested in, and where they excel, and just really continue to get them ready for moving on. Currently, right now, we're at school vacation week right now. We have 2 weeks left of compensatory services when we go back. March 4th, I believe, which is a Thursday, is going to be their last day in public schools. Last day, complete last day. And then they are officially in the adult world. And so we're still in that planning process. We don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers still. Day programs are not yet open, and to new people, at least, where we are. So hopefully we will be able to explore those again soon, so we can integrate that into their adult program at some point. But we're also looking at new volunteer opportunities in the community. And this was a really nice chance to explore some new places and new organizations, new pockets of the community where, there might be those opportunities to join in and not just be there as a place just to be, but for them to share and give of themselves and use their interests and use bring what they have to the table in a volunteer position, like we had planned to initially. Of course, I'm still hopeful that they will get back to Berkshire East, the ski resort, and to Charlene Manor, which is the local nursing home where Brett was working. I'm so hopeful that those jobs will come back on the table, because I think they will be thrilled to go back. But this has also been an opportunity to learn new things and to try new places and look for new opportunities. So we've been doing that. So yeah, discoveries and thoughts. I've as hard as this is, it has been and still is, and there's good days and there's bad days and there's days where it's hard to cope, and the uncertainty can be really hard. I've learned a lot being at home with my 2 sons for really the majority of the day. I mean, before this happened, they were at school. They would be Monday through Friday, you know, between 7 and 3 o'clock or so. They were with other people. They were navigating the school environment. And I didn't get to see how they really handled the whole course of a day with such structure and predictability. And so it showed me the importance of that in an even greater level. But it also, you know, it also helped me to see where their strengths were and what worked and what didn't work, and how they can navigate those challenges. Oh, and here he is. Hi, Brett. Do you want to say hi? You want to wait? Good job. Okay, give me 5. Good job. Yeah, he came playing his music. Yeah, so it's been helpful to see how their learning styles and coping strategies work throughout the day, not just early in the morning and at the end of the day, when they're at their peak of their day. You know, that's helpful for me in helping them to think about what an adult program, a really good and you know, effective adult program would look like for them, one that they want to go to, one that they will look forward to, one they will enjoy. So learning those little ins and outs has been really enlightening for me. So it's kind of a silver lining, I guess you could say. And as always, the other piece is the self-care piece, and we hear about it all the time, but it can't be stressed enough. And the social worker in me just loves to talk about self-care, but it needs to be looked at on several different levels. It needs to be looked at on the caregiver level. It needs to be looked on our family members level, and it needs to be looked on as a family unit level, because that's how families really function. We function as individuals, we function as a family, and we have to allow our family members to live and experience the world and get through the day in their own fashion. And that's all about, to do that, we need to really engage in a little bit of self-care every day, and do our best to not let the day go by. It can be easy to let the day go by and go, oh, wow, all we did was work all day. And I work from home. I'm really blessed. I'm so blessed that I've been able to stay employed, and I work from home, and I patch it together. You know, I'll work for a couple of hours in the morning, then I have time with Healing and Brett, and then I do a little bit more, and then we go back and do some more things. And then, you know, so it's really a little bit of, it's a juggling act, but to take the time to care for yourself and your family and make sure that your boys are, your family members are, you know, doing their best to take care. So hugely important. And I know that Rep. Garlick talked a lot about sharing your stories, so I won't go too much into it, but our stories are so valuable and so needed to secure the services and to make people aware of what's needed, what's working, what's not working, what would be ideal, and what are the impacts of those services. So important. So you don't have to be articulate. I'm not the world's greatest public speaker, but you don't have to be articulate. If you like to write it, write it. If you want to speak it, speak it. If you're a phone person, if you like email, whatever you do, tell your story, share it. It's liberating for sure. There is light at the end of the tunnel at this. We're getting closer, and it's so important to stay resilient and stay focused. And to close up, I think my slide was up there a minute ago, some words of wisdom. Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, who you may, so a lot of you remember the late Fred Rogers, often out of periods of losing come the greatest strivings towards a new winning streak, which it seems so true right now. It rings so true for all of us. We've lost a lot, and we've kind of fallen backwards, a lot of us in some ways, no matter where you are and what type of, no matter what life stage you're at right now. It's been a challenge, and it's been hard. but there's so much more that we can gain and and discover and use that to build towards something new and maybe even something better than what we originally had. So that is that's a quote that I printed, that I actually have that on my that's on my refrigerator. I just think it's important to remember that better times are ahead. So to hang in there, persevere, be resilient, hang on to all of the supports that you have and utilize them. Don't be afraid to ever reach out to folks. There's a wonderful, caring community out there, and it's important to not forget that and to stay part of that. So that's pretty much my story. I tried to cram that all in. I hope I didn't go over my time. Thank you very much for having me and for indulging me and listening to my story. Thank you to all those families for all that you do. You are all amazing and you inspire me. And to the service providers and all the legislators, thank you for having our backs. Thank you for being there with us, because we're a team, so we're all in this together. So thanks so much.
Okay, thanks so much, Sue. Really appreciate your story. So enlightening. I am going to stop sharing and I'm going to introduce our next speaker. But before I do, Finley, I noticed you're drawing all over the screen, which is a real problem because we cannot see the slides. So please stop doing that. Not sure how else to ask you, but welcome Sagrario, Desiree Guerrero, and I apologize if I'm not pronouncing your name the way it should be, but I am so excited to have Sagrario. I met you last year at Supporting Families Day, and she has done just an amazing amount of work in terms of being a parent leader, working with Mass Families Organizing for Change, and really, getting, organizing and reaching out to the Latino community. So I was so excited to hear your presentation today. And she's going to be talking a lot about the Latino community and how COVID and this time has really been affecting it. So there you go.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I want to show my presentation. Can you see the slides?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Let me check. Is technology?
So, excuse me, Sagrario, somebody just made a suggestion. We're wondering if you can you present in Spanish? And that way people can see the English slides and the Spanish speaking participants can hear the presentation in Spanish. Would that be possible?
Yeah, this is good idea. Quiero comenzar dando la calurosa bienvenida a todos los que están en la línea. A warm welcome. Yo quiero expresar mi gratitud en el día de hoy por estar aquí sumando voces para mi comunidad. Represento la comunidad latina y las personas con necesidades especiales. El próximo slide le voy a mostrar la información con relación de la población del estado de Massachusetts y las personas con necesidades especiales. La población demográfica estimada de julio 1 del 2019, según el censo, la población total de Massachusetts es de 6.892.503 habitantes, de los cuales tenemos un 9.6% de lo que representa la comunidad latina en el estado de Massachusetts.
Looks like we are losing connection. Oh, sorry.
6%. Africans or Black community, 6%. Asian population, 5%. En these slides, en esta presentación, quiero mostrarles los diferentes tipos de necesidades especiales dentro de lo que el censo destaca como disabilidad. Tenemos un 3.1% con dificultad auditiva, 1.6% con dificultad de visión, ambulatoria 5.8% y dificultad cognitiva 5.0%. También tenemos lo que es las dificultades del autocuidado y las dificultades de vivir independiente. Todas estas informaciones, all of this information, you can click in www.census.gov para más información, if you need more information about this. En todos los Estados Unidos tenemos el 25.6% de los adultos tienen algún tipo de discapacidad. Y en nuestro estado de Massachusetts tenemos el 22.9% que vive con alguna necesidad especial. Seguimos con el próximo slide. COVID-19, el coronavirus nos mostró cuán vulnerables somos y cómo podemos conectar y también sacar lo mejor de esta situación para unas futuras pandemias. La Madre Tierra, Mother Earth, the past years was unprecedented. COVID-19 was the world most repelled by all nations around the world out loud, prepared by fear, angst, and comprehension to fight against an implacable disease of which don't know enough about this. La Madre Tierra, el pasado 2019, el COVID-19 fue la palabra más repetida por todas las naciones del mundo a viva voz, repetidas por miedo, angustia, incomprensión para luchar con esta implacable enfermedad que nosotros no sabíamos cómo luchar con ella. Resilient families. All of this situation also left a mark. All of who live into this experience and are affected by mental health. Many of our family need continued care, a specific family with a special need. Todas estas situaciones nos dejaron una marca en el cual afectó nuestra salud mental de nuestras familias, especialmente a las familias que tienen necesidades especiales. A continuación, les quiero decir esta canción para que puedan tener un poquito de refresh en todas las informaciones que le hemos dado hasta ahora. Espero que lo disfruten.
No tiene sonido.
Sagrario, I think you have to share your audio for people to hear the
You can hear the music or no?
No, we can't hear the music.
No. Oh my God. And that music is about the miracle. No, you can hear? No.
No. Maybe we can skip the video and
Yeah, it's okay.
we'll be yeah, we're gonna email this to everyone so they'll be able to you know, check out the YouTube. That'd be great.
Yeah, this music express the different kind of situation the humanity had been, but I can send by email for everyone. Okay, the next slide, I want to show you the mental crisis. Latino families experience constant level of the anxiety in the wake of health insecurity. Las familias latinas han experimentado el nivel de presión y ansiedad por la inseguridad de salud. El COVID-19 fue una sensación de tristeza, incertidumbre y miedo que teníamos a lo desconocido, al futuro. The question was not what could you happen in the next year, 2021. The question was, could you happen tomorrow? I will be held to care my family.
Sagrario, si tú quieres, yo puedo traducir eso para ayudarte en el descanso. Si me lo pones de regreso de la pregunta, yo voy a I'm going to translate. La pregunta fue, ¿qué fue lo que no pasó en el año de 2021? La pregunta fue, ¿qué pasaría mañana? ¿Qué pasará mañana?
La pregunta fue...
si yo estaría saludable para cuidar a mi familia, ¿sí?
Exacto, sí. Y que el día siguiente estaría sana para cuidar a mis seres queridos.
Ok.
Paso a la siguiente slide. ¿Lo puedo decir en español?
Sí, yo te lo digo en inglés.
Sí, gracias, Carlos. La educación virtual, el 10% de los estudiantes en los Estados Unidos están considerados con las siglas en inglés ILLS. Estos estudiantes y sus familias tal vez requieren una asistencia adicional durante el colegio. Si quieres traducir ahora, Carlos.
En el inglés, pero si ya está ahí escrito.
Ok, perfecto.
Sí, perdón.
Sí. Los retos de las familias que reciben educación especial como IPs y File for Accommodation tuvieron diferentes tipos de retos durante la pandemia del COVID-19. Acceso para las familias homeless que completaran la educación virtual, ya que se le dificultaba a estas familias de low income acceder a lo que es el servicio de internet en sus hogares, y también muchas familias no poseían estos fondos para tener un gasto extra durante este tiempo. También tuvieron problemas con el acceso al Internet Essential, que es para low income families, but for this service, they need for waiting the list, and all of this situation make the challenge for the families with the low income. The financial crisis, la crisis financiera. La comunidad inmigrante también es esencial en el estado de Massachusetts. 3 millones de personas en los estados de los Estados Unidos tienen un estatus mixto. Sí, de Estados Unidos, en el cual no califican para lo que es la ayuda federal. Algunas de estas familias tienen individuos con necesidades especiales. Las familias latinas que perdieron sus trabajos, sus casas durante la pandemia, tal vez no tenían opciones para ayudas financieras. La curación. La pandemia nos enseñó más que inteligencia, necesitamos más compasión y humanidad. Yo tengo un sueño que todas las personas con necesidades especiales puedan acceder a la justicia. Yo tengo un sueño que toda la humanidad en el siglo XXI pueda tener un nivel más avanzado para respetar a las personas independientemente de su color de piel, situación económica, sexual orientation, disability, marital status, immigration status. Everybody have the same right. Tengo un sueño para que todo el estado de Massachusetts tenga un sistema de justicia. Quien necesite la justicia pueda tenerla en sus manos. Hay una enorme disparidad de exclusión y racismo sistemático en el cual bloquea todo este proceso de democracia en nuestro estado. El sistema de educación, el sistema de justicia, el sistema de transporte, necesitamos crear nuevas políticas públicas que puedan darle más soporte a estas arterias que preservan los derechos fundamentales de todos los seres humanos. I have a dream that our efforts will make the new justice system in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for all who need the justice. Despite the enormous inequity of exclusion, systematic racism, fears, and death, we can organize ourselves to take the next step. The school system, the justice system, the health system, and transportation. We need to create new public policy in these important arteries that live to preserve the fundamental right for all human beings. Thank you. It's to be honored to me. Enjoy all of these ideas with everybody in this call. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Sagrario. That's so moving in terms of hearing about the Latino community and COVID. So thank you very much. So if you want to stop sharing, we're going to have Maura back on, and Maura is going to just give us a quick overview of the budget. And sorry to keep you so late, but great information. There you go, Maura.
Sorry guys, can you see my slides? I'm not sure, did you stop sharing? Yeah, so for whatever reason, I can't seem to share my slide after all this. How strange. Not letting me, there we go, from current slide, let's see. Well, all right, we'll go from here. Okay, well, I'm not going to keep everybody any longer. We went over, but I do want to show you quickly our budget ask for FY22. It's really clear, and you also got some materials on this, so you can look them over. But the underlying message is we are grateful for the budget. but we're always going to be able to find the gaps and the needs for our community, and that certainly is true for family support. So we're looking to increase the family support line item by $7 million, and we're hoping that $3 million of that can go directly to families who have been homebound, who have been caring 24/7 for their loved ones and managing everything from challenging behaviors to medical needs to online learning, and as you know, all the things we've been doing. So you guys, your stories will be critical for that advocacy, and telling them to your legislators, like Chair Garlick suggested, get in touch with them, you know, work on that really powerful impact story about what you've been going through. And of course, our other important areas are going to be day programs and transportation. We're hoping that we're going to get everyone vaccinated and back into their programs, although we know that day programs are going to shift a bit from what we've learned through this pandemic, to try to make them more meaningful, more individualized, more community-based. So we're going to need even more transportation, training, hiring. So we're looking for $15 million increase in this line item and a $7 million in the transportation line item. So that's the budget act. Please, please, please follow up with me if you have any questions on that. I did want to tell you quickly about our new initiative, which is Families and Individuals First. And first, just to let you know, one of the main priorities of this new campaign is going to be vaccine prioritization. And the ARC sent out a letter to the governor and the administration and the vaccine board asking for immediate prioritization of all people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and autism and their caregivers, as well as to make sure accommodations are made at these large vaccination sites. So our Families and Individuals First initiative goes beyond the budget. We're looking at all the needs of families, including legislation. And some of you might be really interested in these pieces of legislation that have been on our priority list before, but we're going to take a more priority approach to them. So a prompting and queuing for PCAs, an ABA for adults through Mass Health, expansion of eligibility for people with developmental disabilities, our accessory dwelling units to add on to homes. And we're also going to be looking at the federal and state policy work around family as paid caregivers. So that's really our initiative and our budget ask. And I'm going to keep moving on, and thank you all that have been involved in the Supporting Families campaign over the years, and to our coalition members who are listed here, if we can see them all. And thank you to Kerry for organizing all of this, and our speakers. And Kathleen was going to walk you through the legislative visits, but you also have that material, so I think we're going to skip that and let you all get going. So again, thank you so much. Thank you for the advice from Chair Garlick today, and stay in touch with the ARC, stay in touch with each other, and please stay safe, everybody.
Thank you, Maura. And you know, we do have a couple of questions if people want to just hang in there. There was one in the chat about the vaccine, just where we're at with it.
Yep. So I don't see the question because it's probably farther back. I can answer that. Like I said, we're just working really hard with the administration. The other piece of news is that we're going to have a town hall from the Secretary of Health and Human Services. We don't have the date exactly, but it will be coming up really soon. And she's going to speak to us about where things are from the state's perspective. But we're continuing to advocate. In the next couple days, if we don't hear back from the governor and from the administration, we're going to take that letter that we sent that is asking them to prioritize all people with IDD and autism, and we'll make it an action alert so everyone can write to their legislators and to the governor around that. So I think that's the update on vaccines.
Okay, thanks. And then just another question about, is workforce off the table for this fiscal year?
Oh, definitely not. You know, workforce, it was a big priority for us the last few years, and we don't have it on our presentation right now, but certainly we are 100% behind the workforce initiative. We have bills out there that will support the workforce, and yeah, you'll hear more and more about that.
All right, then. I think that's it. You know, thank you to both of our wonderful parent speakers, Representative Garlick and Maura, for your presentations. We apologize for the technical difficulty, but thank you, Carlos, for interpreting in chat. And thank you, Sagrario, for being able to present in Spanish so that our Spanish participants can get as much out of this as well. So everybody have a great day. If you need any help contacting your legislators, just please reach out. Take care. Bye-bye.